Hey Chad, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. We got Chad Hedrick here on the podcast today. So Chad, I met you maybe 2 months ago. I think it was 2 months ago. I remember we were doing a Zoom. We were doing a Zoom and you were on it. And I remember you started talking. I think I was hosting the Zoom and you started talking for a few minutes. I remember getting off of that Zoom and I told my wife instantly. I was like, I don't know who that guy is, but I like him. And my wife knows exactly what I mean. There's something about somebody who just talks with like authority and not saying, and everybody will know that when you start talking that you're very just soft spoken. But when you use words like you talk from authority, and I like listening to how people communicate. And you were just talking for like probably 10 minutes on that Zoom, and I was like, I want to know this guy more. And it's cool how we've like reached out to each other a few times since that. So I was like, this is going to be my new friend. So thought I'd
Yeah,
bring you on the
yeah,
podcast, man.
yeah. Thank you. Well, yeah, we met on a Zoom. I believe it was a EXP production Zoom
Yeah.
about a month or two ago. Man, really appreciated getting to know you, and of course, you've spent time with me, helping me, giving me wisdom in my business. You've got a few years on me, 10 years or so more than me in the business. So I'm always a guy that's seeking wisdom to help my business and to create relationships. And now you've even invested time in my team. And so very, very thankful for that. And I'll tell you, since joining the community with EXP 8 weeks ago, man, just the relationships that I've built and the people that are investing in myself, my team, my business. It's everything that I thought it would be. And sometimes in real estate, you feel like you're a man on an island just
Yeah.
working with clients, and sometimes it can be a lonely business. So these relationships that are happening are man, they're superb.
They are, man. It's I call it lonely leadership. Like real estate, like it's just you're growing up, a company, and some of us are growing pretty big companies like you are, and you just feel like you're a CEO that just, sometimes is working at home or sometimes going to the office, but I call it lonely leadership. So it's really nice to get around like other CEOs, people that are doing real estate at a higher level and wanting to like share information and not just tactics, but really just kind of more mindset and business and P&Ls and like that kind of stuff I'm really intrigued with. Not always the day-to-day of selling homes, but like how do we run a business that's profitable? And that's what when I joined up with the XP, I really noticed that too. Like that community is just and I never even I used to tell my wife all the time, I don't even need like community in real estate, right? I kind of actually shunned it. And I'd be like, I don't need community, right? Like I got my family, like I got my wife, I got my dog, I'm
Yeah.
good. I realized like I just at my old brokerage didn't have the community that I wanted. So I was really like running from theirs because it was so I just couldn't find the right rooms, I should say. Maybe that was my fault. I don't know, nothing on them. But yeah, it's an interesting space to be, huh?
It's like win together, lose together, learn together type mentality, you know?
Yeah, it's super fun. Well, hey, let's start off with just just some backstory real quick, just a few minutes on, you know, what got you into real estate? Like what was the thought process where you were like, "Hey, I want to get my real estate license." And then maybe you can just go back a little bit to what you did before real estate so we can have some context to your story.
Yeah. So, man, I found the world of real estate accidentally. I guess I found it because I had competed in the Olympics. I was an ice speed skater for Team USA in 2006 and 2010. Really, really competitive guy, really fierce work ethic. Got done, and make a long story short, I don't dwell on this because it's been something that can define me if I'm not careful. And so I finished with 5 medals, 1 gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze in the 2006 and 2010 Olympics. But then shortly after that, I realized that everything that I was shooting for, the goals that I'd set in my life, fame, fortune, notoriety, um, just attention in general, as a human, our human ways. And I figured out that the number one goal and my crowning achievement in my life didn't satisfy my soul. And it was a very, very challenging time for me and a incredible time for growth. Couldn't really put my finger on it immediately. But over time, I realized that I was living for myself. There was a lot of compromise, a lot of manipulation in my life. I was a borderline alcoholic as an athlete, believe it or not.
Wow.
And man, I was awoken, and life has never been the same. I realized that life is bigger than me, and if I don't live for something bigger than myself, then I'm not living. And so I became a man of faith, and in 2010, I was baptized, and life is still challenging, but man, I've got a mentor in Jesus Christ who is right there and there to help me every time I make a mistake.
Man, that's cool that you said that. I actually got chills as you just told me that story. I can like I seriously can just feel it. Like that's just somebody who I just love the transparency of somebody's story and just being vulnerable in all the accomplishments that you've had and just being real about it.
It's really easy, you live life and the things that you set out for yourself, the biggest goals, they when you accomplish them, they can actually own you. And so I realized that I was defined by how fast I could go on a pair of speed skates and nothing more. I had abused relationships. I had no real in-depth relationships. It was all about getting the point 0.02 advantage so I could cross the finish line first. And I would do anything to do it.
So while you're going through that journey of like the speed skating, do you have a job while you do that, or do you get paid while you're going through that
Yeah,
process with the
so crazy
Olympics?
story, but I started out, you remember rollerblades were really popular in the mid 90s.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I was about 17 years old, and my dad owns a roller rink here in Houston. That's how I started skating at a really
Okay.
young age. I actually learned how to walk on a pair of skates and spent 8 hours every day skating in my dad's rink. And I just I realized that I had a knack for it. It was second nature. I mean, it was easy. And so I grew up. We started this little speed skating team at the roller rink with my friends and I. It started when we were doing like fast skate, and we just realized we just loved to skate fast. So this was on conventional roller skates. And then we started traveling to different roller rinks across Texas and then all across the nation. I won my first national championship at 8 years old. And I just continued to do it. It's what I loved. I played other sports, but it was what I loved. And when I was 16, I decided this was what I was going to do full time. From 16 to 25 years old, I traveled to 42 different countries. I had endorsements with many different companies. I made six figures by the time I was 18 years old. And my income just continued to increase until I was 25 years old. I was the 9 year reigning world champion for inline speed skating, which a lot of people don't even know exists, which is why I decided after 9 years that I was going to move to Salt Lake City, Utah, and try ice speed skating because this human that I am, desiring acceptance, desiring to be idled, if you will, wanting fame, fortune, all these things. I wanted to be on the grand stage. So I moved to Utah and tried out for the U.S. Olympic team, made the national team 6 months after I started, which was crazy. Became world champion 17 months after I started on the ice. And then in February of 2006, I won the first gold medal for our country for Team USA and
Wow.
actually got to mark on the tally board. We have this board that you put a tally every time the country wins a medal. And my event was the first medal. And I put the first tally mark on the 2006 dry erase board for USA. That was an exciting time.
Nice. This you said your dad owns the that he still owns the roller rink?
Yeah, so it's been our family business. They've been retired for a while, but they still have somebody that operates the business,
That's
and
cool.
it's been a great business for them. And when I came home after retiring in 2010, that was something that my dad didn't expect for me to pick up and kind of follow the family thing. But I'm a trailblazer, so that opportunity came up, but I didn't accept it, and here we are, years later. But before finding real estate, I was in the energy business here in Houston. Everybody is in oil and gas. That's the main deal here. And I figured out after skating for so long and having such an incredible passion for what I did, go and sharpening one skill, if you will. I entered the workforce and didn't have a college degree, didn't have any skills outside of skating. So I floundered a bit. And then in 2016, I decided that I was going to try real estate. And the one reason that I chose it is because I knew a lot of people. And these people either wanted a house or had a house or were ready to sell a house. And it was a natural fit because obviously, talking to me here, you can tell I'm a pretty outgoing guy. But that's how I ended up in the business.
So what did that first year look like when you started real estate? Were you still keeping another job at the time and doing this part-time, or did you just go all in?
No, I went all in.
What'd that year look like?
Yeah, so that year, I believe my first year I sold 6 million in real estate,
Okay.
and had no clue what I was doing. I had no skill and all work ethic. It was all horsepower. So,
Understood, man.
it's kind of one of those things where it's like you you're you just you just outwork everybody. And the world that I came from, that was what you had to do, in order to beat everybody across the finish line. You just had to outwork them. And so the mental part of it was there, but at the same time, I can backtrack and I can talk about this lack of a relationship in my life. And ironically, God positioned me in a business where that transformation into real estate and understanding how important it was to connect with people authentically, that was part of this transition and part of my transformation as a Christian in this world, was entering a business coming from this place where it's like it's all about me. I'll outwork you. I'm mentally stronger than you. All these things that are me. And all of a sudden, it's anything but me in the new business that I've entered. And man, it's been therapeutic.
Yeah. It's very cool. So you've been doing it for about 6, 7 years now?
Yeah, 7 years.
Okay.
So
So
we
what's that how is that pace? So you said your first year you did about 6 million. How's that progressed over time?
yeah, we've gone. I can't tell you the exact numbers as far as
That's fine.
production, but I started alone, and then this last year, my team, we had 153 transactions
Very
for
cool.
just over 60 million. We've got a little different price point down here in Texas, a little lower than everybody else, but had a lot of transactions and learned a lot. And along the way, realized that I was gifted as a leader. I was gifted as an encourager, a challenger, and somebody who was really fulfilled by the success of others around me. And that's been probably the best thing, because as a single agent, sometimes you go through, you're working with clients, and then you're back on the hamster wheel. You're solidifying relationships with clients, but man, the day-to-day interaction with people that are actually on your team, the people you can celebrate with, and the people you can grow with, that's something that really is important to me.
So how are you are you in personal production still, or does all your business go through your team members?
So I'm probably I probably do about 50% of what I used to. And now, with my supporting team, we currently have 8 agents, and they've grown a lot. Some of them started from the beginning. I've seen people double and triple their business over the last couple of years, which has been incredible to watch. But as far as hands-on, it's been a little different. And the whole goal, as you know, as a leader, is to try to position your people to succeed, and to let them see the value, that how valuable they are to you. and then kind of back out a little bit and look at it from a 30,000-foot view to make sure decisions are being made correctly.
It's so fun to see him win, huh?
Oh yeah.
Like
I
I still like when I see like people in my EXP crew, like I'm helping them grow their businesses, and some of them, I'm like have $105,000 month this month, and another one just left a brokerage on a team and like was 50-50 split, and I think she's got like 93,000 pending right now. And I'm telling you, like when I text them and they text me back, I still like I get chills. Like I just those I'm a feeling person. So like when I hear that, like I might have put two pending that day, but I'm just like, that's all about me, right? Like that's it. I'm numb to that just because that's kind of what I'm in my head. I'm like, that's what I do. But when I hear them do it, I'm just like, oh man, like I could remember being a new realtor and putting like starting to get my first like really good months. And I remember that feeling and I'm like, oh man, I remember how life changing that was when that happened to me. So I'm trying to like really just like think I'm like, oh man, they're at home and like they went home to tell their spouse like this good news and they're showing them their spreadsheet. And I remember doing that with my wife and she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, and you're just kind of showing off your hard work to somebody who was just believing in you. And so like when these people go through these journeys, I'm just like, I'm so stoked because I'm just like, man, I wish that for everybody. So I feel like you and I have talked on several occasions, and I feel like we both get that same like satisfaction. Like I would rather hear about other people winning than actually go through a win that day because it's
yeah.
just so much. It just feels so much better. I'd
Well,
rather root for people than
it
myself.
goes to show you like being a servant is very fulfilling. Positioning them, giving them the tools they need, giving them the wisdom that they need. Um, and sometimes the teammates will give me wisdom, believe it or not. I mean, it's
True
like
story.
we're all working together, right? But
Yeah.
I've got a second year agent right now with she had 6 closings this month,
Nice.
second year. And then last year we actually had an agent with 12 closings in 1 month, which was
Wow. That's wild.
absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So how are you? Let's talk about like your personal productions. Like, how are you getting your business? Is it all just networked out or are you doing anything else?
Yeah, so our team has a lead generation program, but I wouldn't say that is the heart of our business. I would say probably 95%, believe it or not, is just referral and SOI. And I do a lot of things. I have a soccer club locally that I sponsor and support that my kids are a part of. There's about 600 or 800 families that are a part of this soccer club, and it's a they travel a lot. So these are people that have good incomes and that I'm able to organically connect with.
Yeah.
And I'm there at the soccer fields, able to talk to them. And my wife's the team mom for the soccer club. So these types of efforts have been really, really good for my business. And so I try to find things that are natural to me that I can connect with people. And this has been the case. But as far as lead generation is concerned, I mean, that's been a very small part of my business, and I don't know. And the funny thing is, also, I've never really been a big listing agent. I've been in the business just 7 years,
Same
and
with me, man.
I have a lot of buyers. My business is probably 60 to 65% buyers. That turnover is going to happen sooner or later, whether they're both selling and buying. I get it, but I'm waiting for that time to happen. It really hasn't happened at this point.
Yeah, you know what? I'm 17 years in, man, and so I'm still more buyer heavy than listing. And I just at a certain point was just I don't even fight it, I'm like there's a new world of how to show homes and have leverage. So I think the old models, that we used to listen to were like listings or leverage, right? Like it's a more leveraged activity. And I'm finding out with, how we're structuring our buyer side that you can actually leverage out the buyer side almost more simplistic than the listing side. So I don't think it's something that we have to fight. I just lean into it. I'm like, hey, if God's given me this business, there's a reason for it. And, could I cry over this or could I vote for something different? Sure. But like this is what I got. So I make the best
Yeah,
with it and just lean into it.
better than nothing, right?
Right, man. Just be grateful, right?
I've
So
always tried to analyze it and everything, but it's just like paralysis by analysis. It's like, what am I doing differently than other people are? Maybe they're like, oh, I don't have any buyers. And how does Chad have so many buyers?
yeah. Yeah. So what do you So with this network of people that you get a good amount of referrals from, I mean, are you just the agent? Which I've met some, and I've met some that just do a good amount of volume. They're like, I don't do anything really outside of just keeping my name good and maybe texting people here and there. Like, do you have any type of consistent like follow up plan with your past clients or your network, or any type of like marketing that you do to them, any events?
Yeah. So a big thing that we do, and this has been kind of the core of my business for, I started 2 years ago. Every Thursday at 4 o'clock before the weekend comes, we have a newsletter that goes out, and I have 5,100 people on my newsletter every Thursday at 4. My marketing team, they put together a customized newsletter for the team, and then give it a personal touch as well. It's well beyond what you would get at a normal brokerage when you just like throw names in a CRM. It's really customized, and there's a lot of video and stuff like that. So that's been the core of the business. We want people right before the weekend starts. We want them to see our listings, that we want them to understand the market. We want them to, excuse me, excuse me there. We want them to know what's going on. We want them to see the celebration within our team, and how, this is a full service real estate team. It's not a part-time agent that's wanting to go open and unlock a door for you on a Saturday.
So Thursday those go out. What else do we do? Because what I find out is I interview a lot of agents, and they start like they just say they get all these referrals, right? It's kind of like what I'll say is like when someone's like, "Oh, how do you get referrals?" I'm like, "Oh, I just got a few systems." And then I
Yeah,
start, my wife's like, "You have more than a few systems." And I'm like, "Oh,
yeah.
okay." We start like saying everything that we're doing, and I want the audience to hear more of like, what does Chad do? Like, well, what's that secret sauce? I mean, so the emails go out on Thursday. What else are we doing in your business?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm huge on brand. So my brand, my team's called the Gold to Sold Group. It's a hard one to forget.
Of course it is.
And so we really leverage that with social. Now starting a YouTube channel, but there's a lot of things going on social that we really try to be memorable. We try to stick out like a sore thumb, and I think social really provides a lot of opportunity for us, just as it does a lot of other people. But that newsletter, social, and then every time we have a home, a listing that's sold, we ambush the area with the 20 homes around it and let them know exactly what happened and how we serve their neighbor. And we've continued to build that network that way, and those farming areas based on areas that we've infiltrated. For example, last year, in a home or a section of 70 homes, a gated section, I sold 4 of them within, I think, 3 or 4 months. Well, I immediately claimed myself to be the local expert, because nobody had sold more than one home in the past 2 years other than myself, right? So I immediately claimed that territory. It's a small territory, but ultimately that's a territory that I own, and I invest in it monthly, and they get it every month. I'm the expert. I've done 4 properties in the last year there in that small community. So really using success that you have and being able to leverage it is really, really important in my opinion.
I like how you like seize an opportunity. Like you probably could have sat back and been like, how did I close 3 or 4 in here in the last few months, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes like things are luck. It's luck, but like you just seize an opportunity. Like, okay, like I got these listings all in here. That could be luck. I don't know, but like then you know how to seize an opportunity and then lean in hard so that you can just promote it like you're the
Look,
mayor of the area.
we try every day to have the opportunity to engage somebody with some real meat on the bone, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of it that has no meat on the bone. If
Yeah.
I'm going to call them out, if I'm going to go get a Facebook ad and I'm going to get a PPC lead or whatever, there's no meat on the
I
bone.
like that.
So everything that we have that has some substance to it, where you have some success or you have a personal connection or whatever, that's a dream opportunity for us
Yeah.
in the business.
I like that. Meat on the bone. Yeah, because we do a lot of internet leads and definitely not a lot of meat on the bone,
That's
is there? Like
tough, man.
you can convert that, but it's not always a fun process because you're calling them just like anybody else would. Like you said, there's not enough meat on the bone. I like that. I'm going to take that into my office to
I just made that up, by the way.
there you go, man. Gold. So what do you provide to your team? So what's your value proposition to your team? So, I mean, if they're doing a lot of referral business as well, where does Chad's team play in their life? Like, what would you say, like, this is my value proposition to them?
Yeah, my value proposition is number one, we've got an operations manager who's managing our pipeline, managing the lead source that's coming in, and really being able to show them what we're doing to support them, the newsletter with the marketing team. And then also I do something that's a great opportunity for all of my agents. If agents were to want to do listing videos, or they want to do, I've got an agent right now who is working with a lender, and they're talking, they've started this little series called Real Estate with Redheads, right? And it's a redheaded lender and it's a redheaded agent, and they go through weekly. Well, my team, my marketing director, goes and shoots all this stuff and edits it for them. And, for an agent who's out there trying to market themselves, to be able to pay for stuff like that and have access to stuff like that, there's a lot of value in there because it's not cheap.
Yeah, I mean, they're just out there selling homes. And I think it's even hard. I think value propositions, just having admin staff is just a huge value proposition. Think systems that they can, implement or
Yeah.
execute on. I mean, I think I've been a solo show before. And I mean, it's hard to do the go out and put deals under contract, come back, run into the office, play admin, get your marketing out that day, follow up with leads. It's like being a solo agent can be such a hard job. So like I can see where, joining up with somebody, even if it's referral business, like just plugging and playing in somebody's already existing business that already has a reputable name in the community, and someone who has like the office admin to just help out and assist, because it can be a hard day when you're a solo agent. That's for sure.
Well, you think of the personality of an agent typically, even getting them to manage leads and put it in the CRM and do all that. I mean, if you don't have the right agents on your team, they're a little resistant to doing stuff like that. They're in the car, you got to get on top of them, and it's tough if you don't have anybody managing everything.
How's team culture work for you? Like, what's the cadence to, are you doing weekly meetings? What does that look
Yeah,
like in your office to keep everyone kind of, they're independent contractors, but yet you got to kind of keep them plugged into some type of a rhythm.
yeah.
What's that look like for
So
you?
so the culture has become, we're friends. We're all friends,
Good.
right?
There you go.
And that's the first thing. Everybody knows they're out to help each other within our team. We don't have an office, but we meet up once a week, whether it's at a title company or whatever. There's a lot of people that are willing to help us, but we don't have a formal office. I work out of my house, and we think it's really, really important to see each other's face every week. We think that there's a disconnect without a face-to-face connection every week, and a opportunity to embrace those and celebrate those within your family. And every time, and we may miss one week every now and then, but I tell my team, man, the connection has to remain. The grass is greener on the other side. That's a syndrome that agents, more than any other industry I know, we always think there's better for us. And you know what? You could leave a great situation and hit an absolute wall just because mentally you're always thinking something's better, something's better.
Yeah. Culture, you said, is friends. Simple, huh? No big
Yeah.
statement. Ours is, mine's love and paychecks. I'm like,
Yeah.
culture around here, I've always noticed if you're if you're just loving on people and paychecks are going around, I found out culture is really good. What's interesting is when I say paychecks, it's like that's just accountability, right? It's really like, that's just like people saying what they're gonna do, and doing it usually leads to paychecks. So that's why I say it's love and paychecks. That's as
And
simple as
like,
that.
you're going to have people that want to leave and want something greater. And hey, I don't blame them. I was that guy before looking for something
Sure.
better.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not better.
So how'd the transition go for you guys? I don't know if you're in the same like type of market that we were in, but it was like 8 months ago. I remember when it was like, whoa, like what's up here? Interest rates started going up pretty high. No one was really used to that yet. I feel like the realtors were going through something new. What did that look like in your market, and how did you keep everything together and just mentally? And what does that look like now for you guys in your market?
Yeah, so November was probably the start of all that. When we just everybody started getting fearful and listening to the media, and just everything just kind of fell apart a little bit. You know, I have been working with a lot of people. Our team has been working with a lot of people, and it's really hard for them to get these words out of their head that they're taking in through the media every day. So I think, from November all the way until probably February, we had some struggles, and it was quite a bit slower. Our goal was to sell 200 homes for the year, and we fell short of that just due to the last 2.5 months or so. And we're on pace now. Everything's picked back up, because the typical buying and selling season, first of all. But
Yeah.
I think right now, people have come to the realization that they have to get off the bench, because these 3.5% rates,
It's
that was
over.
almost a once in a
I
lifetime opportunity.
know.
What if they want a new home and they want to upgrade, or they want to, whatever they want to do? It's come to a point where, man, they feel like they have to move now. They have to do it. They've heard it long enough, and it's not changing.
Did you have to go through when that transition was happening? Did you have to go through any conversations on like cutting fixed expenses and things like that? I know we did in our office, and you're always as a business owner, you're like, okay, what what do we cut? And like, is the mark, you know what I mean? Like, is this just like a 2 or 3 month
I did it
process? And you,
yesterday.
okay, cool. Let's talk about it. What's this look like in your life? Because I'm going through it still, and I just like
Yeah.
to talk to more people. We made a lot of cuts about 6 months ago, and we're still in conversations daily on just like what can still be cut to still get to this ultimate profit margin that we want to be at.
And all these
And
small
how
expenses add up. You know what I mean?
they do, they do. I mean, my
Yeah.
wife and I are going through. We do CEO meetings, and they're once a week, but now more than ever, we're like doing them a few more times a week because we're just trying to really gauge, like, there were certain things that I'm like, I don't know if we truly need this anymore. And so it's like, if I'm hemming and hawing over something, I'm like, I doubt that that's returning an ROI if I'm hemming and hawing over it. So how are
Yeah.
you going through that, man?
Well, I'm having clients kind of take a look at their finances and really understand what is a luxury and what is an asset,
Okay.
an asset that's building wealth for them, right? And I think that's a good way to look at it, is something that, you're basically burning money on,
Yep.
versus something that's creating a long-term future for you and your kids. And it's different for everybody, but people can cut $200 to $300 to $400 very, very easily if you're attentive, right? And so I just did it with my team yesterday. We had 3 or 4 things that were being tools that we were using that maybe didn't serve a lot of purpose, and they were just there. And so we did that with our company yesterday. But ultimately, I think it tests the motivation of a buyer when you can decide, hey, you get to see, am I working with somebody who's really committed and really wanting to move? Because if they can't cut eating out 4 nights a month or whatever that may be, that spot that they're spending money on that they probably don't need to be, you really get down to the bottom of it and see, like, are we wasting our time, looking at homes, or are they sincere about this search?
Yeah, it's interesting to hear your journey on just the cutting expenses because, like, I mean, like I said, we're going through it. So I still want a higher profit margin. We can sell homes and put homes through the spreadsheet is what I'll say, but it's like, I mean, I just want to make sure we're always focused on profit first and making sure it's a healthy profit. And that's an interest. That's an art. I was talking to Andrew Franklin, which I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
I was talking to him on the podcast a few weeks ago, and we were talking about that, and it was such a fun conversation because it's like he was talking about like, hey, like people who can sell a lot of homes usually are always going to be able to sell a lot of homes, right? And so, but there's an art in business as the CEO of a team or a business. It's certain seasons you make more money and certain seasons you don't. And that was like talking it through with him. It was really just like I felt like a lot of people are going through the same thing. So it's kind of like why I like doing this podcast. It's a little bit therapeutic. And so it's like, hey, there's some seasons where like you make a lot more money. There's some seasons where you make less money. The profit margin could be higher or less. And so what we decided in that conversation, which man, it was so powerful, is we decided, hey, as long as the relationship with the clients, as long as they got their house, they're happy, they're happy. You get a good review because your service is stellar. That's all front end. Like if the client's happy that you sold their house, you got them into a house, they rave about you, they go tell everyone about you. That's front end, that's customer service. Then there's the behind the scenes of a CEO. That's how much profit did we make while we were giving this awesome service. And you've got an asset, and as long as people are going out and still referring you, there's also another season next year, and there's another season. And like me, I'm in season 17, and there's been some years where it's been wild, right? And you're like wild profits. And there's other years where it's like, okay, like that's fair, like it's not bad, but it's not wild.
Get your hand spanked a little bit.
Yeah, so it's just it's kind of cool because we had that conversation. It was like as long as your customers are happy, there's always another season. It's like, Tom Brady didn't win the championship every single year. He got sometimes the championship game. He sometimes didn't win it. Was that still a good year for him? Yes. He didn't get the goal, but still got his endorsements, got his contract, still got paid. So it's like, it's really interesting to see how like not everybody hits their goal that year, but they still keep their name good. They still make enough money. They still get some endorsement brands. And it's like, okay, like you still go home to a family. You've got a life that you're living while you're going through this. And I think that's what I'm noticing more, man, and why I like having conversations with you is we've had like probably two on the phone, and it's just more about life. And I think that's the really cool conversation with have more realtors is just, man, we're living a life while we're selling these homes, right? Like we've got people that we're trying to help. We've got my church that I'm trying to give to. I've got souls out there that I'm trying to introduce to Jesus. And you just realize like there's so much more than selling real estate. It's such a small piece of our life. And really it's almost unimportant to eternity. And so when we realize like that's the perspective of our life, it's not really, like it's like you can go on the field every day and leave it out there. But when you go home, it's like, it's not the most important thing. And I think that I
Yeah,
noticed that a lot about you in our conversations.
I'm completely convicted right now because I'm just like, I feel like real estate is such a big part of my life that doesn't really matter.
Very cool.
Makes sense.
It does to me.
And so when I'm in this business and the way that we can connect with people, we're sitting with people at their kitchen table, we're sitting on the bar stool in the kitchen, we're connecting with them personally. And this is an opportunity for us to serve them and love on them like probably they've never been loved on before.
Yeah.
And that there's a unique opportunity for us in real estate to be able to change lives. And
Yeah.
some days I do it and I'm bold, and some days I run with the world.
Right. I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. That's yeah, it's like kitchen tables get a lot, like I remember going through that short sale era in like 2006, maybe 2008 to 2010. And it was interesting. Chad, I wish I was as confident as I am now in my faith during that time because I sat at so many kitchen tables of people like crying because they were losing their houses. And I wish I was as bold as I was now, but hey, God has a plan, right? So now I just say like, hey, there's always a new season. But man, I remember like sitting at people's houses and them just crying about losing their house. And I wish I would have delivered more at that trend. Wish I would have delivered more at that time of my life than just being their realtor and their friend. I wish I would have did more. But we
You,
can't look back
you
too
weren't ready.
far.
You weren't ready for it.
There you go.
You weren't prepared to do that. You didn't have the words to say. You didn't have the sincerity to say it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. So, but man, what a fun conversation. So what are you looking forward to in real estate? Like
Uh,
what keeps you excited?
I'm looking forward to helping people build their business. And I'm looking forward to using the obstacles and challenges that I've faced in 7 years to share that and pay it forward to be able to grow other people's business along with my own in the process.
Nice.
It's amazing. Like honestly, there's and we're talking about several topics right now, but there's something that keeps coming back to me,
Yeah.
and I feel like I should share this with people. But there's a lot of people out there, including myself sometimes, that are scared to engage. They're scared to be rejected because of so much maybe potential competition. There's so many people that sit in their office knowing what they need to do, but maybe they don't do it. And I've been that guy at times. And in fact, earlier this week, I was that guy. And I would just encourage everybody who's in this business to get out of their comfort zone and to be able to lead, lead with a servant's heart and just let them know that you want to help them, not coming in as a salesman, but just present yourself as somebody who wants to help. And I think everything will change, but it's a lot easier said than done, because I remember young, and when I was first couple of years in this business, I just expected people who knew me. I expected people who saw my Facebook post to do business with me. And it doesn't happen. We have 40,000 realtors in Houston. I'm sure you guys have 30 or 40,000 out there. It just doesn't happen. So you have to be different, and you have to serve, and you have to come from a different perspective in order to connect with them.
Man, very cool. I think the listeners can see why I brought you on. You're a really fun guy to talk to. I love where your heart is. Just like I said, the first time you talk, man, like on that Zoom, you just said a few words for a few minutes. And I'm being serious when I say that. I walked out and I told my wife, I'm like, I want to know that guy more. That you came from the heart on everything you said. And I like that. I'm seeking that more in my life. I can be very direct to people. I can be a little bit cold sometimes. And I go through prayer often and just try to remember, like, love is patient, love is kind. I try to read that scripture almost. I read it often. My mom sends it to me all the time because she knows my personality. And she's like, hey, just Chris, just remember, always focus, man, on what's really important in life. Love is patient, love is kind. I go through it all the time. And I'm like, man, that's so true. Like, I went through this journey of just like researching all the words, because we can know what words are, but I wanted to know like what's the definition of kind? Like, I know what it is, but what does it really say? And like, what's patient? And I started going through all of them. Like, it does not envy. So I was going in research on envy, and I went through all of those. And as I heard you talk the first time, I could just feel love come out. And so like, I
Well,
want to let you know, like, you're my newest friend, man. So I just wanted
well, man, I'll,
I wanted
I'll tell
everybody to
you,
know who you were.
I'll tell you that. I'll tell you one thing. In 2010, I was not the guy you know today, and
That's
it's
cool.
only because the transformation of my heart and my acceptance of Jesus, and it's an amazing thing. We're broken humans. We make mistakes every day, and
Yep.
without him, I would enter each transaction. Without him, I would enter each transaction just thinking about a check
Yeah.
and overlook everything. Assume everything. Assume that the client knows everything. Assume that they know that I'm a hard worker. Assume that all I have to do is get them in a house. It's way greater than that.
It is. Well, man, that's called a testimony. You know what I mean? Sometimes you gotta go through
Every
some,
day, buddy. Every day.
that's a testimony. You gotta be able to tell people your past sometimes and know where you come from. And I'm glad you said that, because when someone meets you now, it's really cool to hear like some of, your vulnerability on your struggles that you've had, because that now I can have, like I said, context in our relationship because it's a new one. But dude, I thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. Getting to know you more has been super cool. I want everybody to hear your story. Because it's a cool one. And
Yeah.
let's keep growing something that we can be proud of, okay?
Yeah. I appreciate you all the time you've already invested in me. It's been just 2 months, and man, we have already built a friendship, and I look forward to seeing you for the first time in person in San Antonio in July with my team. So that's going to be exciting.
I'll be there, man. Thank you so much for being on the show.
All right. Have a great day.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
See ya.